There we go. Okay. So GPS, the very first thing on the GPS is the goal. So who has a clearly defined goal that you're looking to hit by the end of the year? Who has clearly defined that? What does that look like for you?
For me, it's 12 million volume and 30 units.
Love it.
So 30 closings, 12 million volume.
Awesome. So you know exactly how many people you got to help to make sure that you hit that goal.
Yep.
Awesome. So that's your main goal. That's what you're going to put at the top. So the way that he did it, a volume or a transaction count, that's perfect for a goal for real estate. You know, that's a perfect way to do it. And a lot of people tell me, hey, it's not about the money, it's whatever, but most of us got into real estate to make money. I mean, if we don't get paid, we're probably not going to stay in real estate very long. So, so you got to figure out what's your goal going to be. And you guys know, I never make up your goals for you. It's like, because you don't care about hitting my goals. You care about hitting your own goals. So I love that. How did you arrive at 30 transactions, $12 million in volume?
It's a healthy step up from where I was last year. So not too crazy of growth, but I mean, it stays on that upward projection. So kind of based off of last year, where my business was at the beginning of the year, and like having clarity on what I need to do to continue to stay on that trend.
Awesome.
That's kind of
Cool. Yeah, you don't want too crazy of a goal because, I mean, what if you sold all the houses? What if you financed all the houses? I mean, you have so much money, you wouldn't know what to do with it. It'd be the worst. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So cool. Awesome. Who else has clearly defined goals around what they're doing? Anyone? Okay, well, maybe that's a better place
Okay,
to
how
start.
about this? Like, I do have them. I clearly haven't burned them into my brain.
Yeah,
So I would have to go back into a GPS to find them.
totally.
So I do have them, but they're not stuck in my brain, which is a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, such a good point. Yeah, I get that way. That's sometimes for sure because, yeah, but if you can't recite them, how set are we on those goals? Like that goal is really the thing where you're like, okay, that's what I'm doing. If you figure out what it is that you want, your brain can figure out the details, the in-between of what you need to be doing and how you need to be acting. Your brain will figure that out, but you have to tell it where you want to go. So if you're just 100% set, this is where I'm headed, your brain will figure it out and your actions will follow. So anyone else have goals they want to share?
I
Clearly
want
defined-
to, oh, sorry.
No, go for it.
I was just going to say, I want to build my database up to over 200, which
Awesome.
is, I mean, that's going to be a lot. It's like tripling it, what it currently is, a little bit more than triple. And I want it to be like solid people that that I've met, that I can work with, like legit contacts.
Yeah. Love it. Awesome. And why is that so important to you?
Because my other goal for the year is I want to close on 6 houses this year, and that's connected.
Love it. Awesome. Yeah, that won't be any problem with the database of 200, right? That
Heck
won't be
no.
any problem at all.
They're going to be begging.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Awesome. Okay, who else wants to share their goal? Okay, well, so our team has a goal. Our little team, me and Alex, Trevor, and Brian. So we're dead set on selling 100 houses this year. So at times we've had issues, we've had struggles, we've had setbacks, we've had good months, we've had rough months, the works. But the fact that we know that that's where we want to go, all of our efforts move us towards that direction, you know? And even someone said the other day, hey, if you don't hit 100 houses, at least you'll still sell a lot of homes. And my sales partner, Trevor, just about like chased her out of the room. She's like, get out of here. Get out of here with that loser talk. So anyway, anyhow, so you got to be pretty committed to those goals, right? So we're going to hit them. Okay, so the GPS very first thing is gonna be your goal. Now, the next thing, there's 3 different priorities. So we gotta break it down to, okay, what are the biggest priorities? And I have a sample here. So one of the things I gave you, it's the one that has like the red writing there, but it has the sample. So this person's sample, I think it's easier to look at theirs. So my one thing is launch my business through SOI and referrals to close X amount of units by X time. So it's really manageable because if it's not, it's obviously got to be a SMART goal. I won't bore you about what a SMART goal is, but it's got to be time. It's got to be, it's got to have a time limit. It's got to have a certain time that we're going to be hitting those goals by. So if you've got a certain amount and a certain time limit, then, you know, we have an actual goal. So that's the first thing. Then priority number 1. So they broke it down into 3 different priorities, which hopefully these will look familiar to you. So the first one is build my database. Not a super specific goal, but at least it's a good category. So build my database was our first priority. Second priority was feed my database every day, I assume is what they meant. And then systematically touch my database is the third one. So I actually like the way they broke it down. Who recognizes where those 3 items come from? The book, exactly.
What book?
The book. The only book. Yeah, Millionaire Real Estate Agent.
The red
So,
one. You bought the color maybe?
Yeah. So maybe you remember that from Terry's awesome MRA class. Went through the 4 laws of lead generation, right? Which are build your database, feed it daily, systematically touch it. It's not in that order. Build your database, systematically communicate, feed it daily, and then service all the listings. So, which, like, for example, as you get going, service all your listings might be one of your most important pillars. They say, how are we going to service those leads that we get? At this moment, I think this person was just getting started and they're like, hey, we'll worry about servicing the business when it gets there. And I love that about what they did because, you know, we'll figure it out. Don't you worry, you got lots of support. We're going to figure it out. But anyway, so those are your 3 priorities. Now, I think they need a little more specificity. So build my database. What does that mean? Is there a certain number? Like I love that Sari knew her number for that. You know, figure out what exactly does that mean to you. The other one, feed my database. Great. What does that look like to you? How many is that we're feeding it every week or every month or every day? And then systematically touch my database. That one is probably a little bit more self-explanatory because Gary Keller already told us we have to do it 36 times a year, right? So that's already a little more specific. But anyways, then what you want to do is in the strategies, you're going to break down the strategies. So 5 things that are going to help you to hit that priority so that you can reach your goal. So like in this one, build my database was the priority. The strategy number 1, create a list with everybody I know and include all contact info. Who can do that today if you haven't already? I love how it says you're raising your hand. It tells me that I'm raising my hand when I do that.
Say it one more time.
What's that?
Yes.
Say that one more time.
Create a list with everybody that you know and include all their contact info. Who can do that right now within Command?
I can.
Totally. That's easy, right? So it just kills me. Honestly, that specific thing kills me. I know not everyone wants to call their family and their friends about real estate. The truth is, you know, even if you pass them, people work with those that know, like, and trust them. So if you skip your family and your friends, those are people who already know, like, and trust you. So guess what? Now you're just building a whole new list of friends and maybe not family, but you have to build brand new trust with these people, which is fine. But if you've got relationships already, lean into those. Those are the ones they already know, like, and trust you, lean into them. So if you're out there calling a bunch of random people and you haven't called your database yet, I just would caution you to slow down a little bit. Okay, strategy number 2, access Command, familiarize myself with the contact session, for sure. Section, upload to Command a list of current contacts and add additional SOI contacts. Sure. Organize my contacts. There's a few typos in here. Organize my contacts by adding system tags and custom tags. Totally, that could help, right? And then add notes to each contact after making a phone call. So basically all those things are just to help build the database up to where they want it to be. I think it could be a little more specific, could have some more specific examples in there of what that would look like. And then priority number 2, I'm going to run through it pretty quick because it doesn't matter too much. I just want to show you how they broke it down. So feed my database. The first one is generate new leads through sphere of influence referrals, generate new leads through open houses, generate new leads through social media prospecting, generate new leads through some other method, and then capture new leads, contact information, and input to command daily. So we're talking about pretty specific things. Those need to be specified a little bit more. How many generate new leads through open houses? What does that look like? How many of those a week are you doing? How many contacts are you making? What's your system around how you're following up with those people? So there's a lot of details here, but this is helping you section out your priorities. And then systematically touch my database. So contact each of my contacts in person, call, text, email, social media. Those are all good. Add notes after each contact and create a command, task, or smart plan. Log into command every day and execute daily tasks. That's a pretty big one. So who's using tasks at a high level within command? Anyone or another CRM? Okay, awesome. There we go. So what's the danger of not doing your tasks daily?
Cracks get backed up.
Yeah,
Like, I guess, yeah, forget about things fall through the cracks. Things don't get done, people get mad,
totally.
go elsewhere.
Yep.
Business.
Yeah. Using the task, having a follow-up that's automated is super important. And if you skip it, people fall through the cracks, which those are expensive lessons for us, right? So you can either follow it daily or you can see which ones you didn't follow and what business you lost from that, but it's going to be expensive. So you got to have a little bit of a process for how you're actually doing that. And has anyone ever declared lead bankruptcy? You guys ever heard that term? I guarantee. Yeah, where you have all these leads, you have all these people, and you're just like, I don't know who the crap any of these people are. I haven't reached out to them in years. And then you just delete them or give them to some random agent because you're like, I can't deal with it anymore. Like if you're not consistent with staying in touch with them, it just can drive you crazy. So you got to be consistent with that. So I love that they added that part in there. Create several smart plans in command assigned to each contact. Keep lead generation top priority every single day on my calendar. So I hated that one until it said on my calendar. So keep lead generation on my calendar every single day. That's a perfect thing. Like that's a very actionable thing, right? And then there's the other thing of actually do it when that pops up on your calendar, right? So will you guys just take a quick second? Can I get everyone will you fill in your goal? We can update it later, but will everyone take your GPS and write down what's your goal? Let's go through the end of the year. I think that's a good time period. Go through the end of 2023. Will you write down your goal? And then we're going to go a little more nitty gritty. We're going to go a little more specific, but I want you guys to leave with something you can actually take. So
if you're trying to do a bunch of different things, we're supposed to have a GPS for each thing.
yeah, I think that's a good question. I mean, if you ask the Papazans, which I guess is who you ask about GPS, is that Jay and Wendy. Now I've gone to a million classes with them. They would say you really want your life to be on one page because you can't focus. You can't do a very good job on multiple pages. So they say, okay, for you, like Justin, you may have 3 different priorities. They may not be the same goal. Like they might be 3 kind of different, distinct things. I know some people will have a certain business like real estate sales, property management, whatever another business would be. And for you, it's all on one page. And then it's got the 5 strategies on each. Whereas each business specifically, or each venture that you're on could have its own GPS as well. And whoever's helping you with that business might be, there might be more pieces to it. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
I've actually seen them. I got to see Jay Papazan's GPS and it was so cool. My favorite thing about it was he had his values on the very top. He had his 3 values. I could tell you what it was if I dug through my notes, but I probably won't do that. But it was pretty cool. I think it was impact, income, and something else. But it was pretty cool. I thought it was interesting that he put his top 3 values at the top of his GPS so then you could really see if that GPS reflected those values. So yeah, you can have multiple multiple of those, but I think one human really is only capable of maybe one of those. But like Via Williams talks about it, she's like, she's got a lot of businesses, and I think hers would be multiple pages just because there's a few items that she's working on in each business. And that's the other thing. You don't necessarily have to have 5 strategies in each one either. So sometimes I found myself filling out those strategies just to fill the boxes so that I had a full GPS. And they're like, no, you just have as many as are needed, and then you can move on. So cool. Good question. I like it. Okay, so we got our goals down. Anyone want to share their goal now? Anyone more committed to their goal or more particular about what that goal is?
Let's get, by the end of 2023, a dozen transactions.
A dozen transactions for Tomas. Love it. Awesome. That won't be a problem at all. Cool. Can I pick on you? Can we use yours as an example?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So we got 12 transactions in as your goal. So we got to break that down into three priorities. Do you want to do it the same way that we did it on here, or do you want to do it a little differently? Do you care?
Whichever. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you can, the way you break down your priorities, just from a real estate sales business perspective, there's different ways you can do it. Sometimes like I'll do one about buyers, one about sellers, one about like servicing. So our systems and everything on the back end. You can do it like they did, build your database, feed your database, systematically communicate with your database. You could separate it out that way. Anyone else have a way that they've done it that they like? So you do it that way? Oh, sweet. I love it. Yeah, I hadn't really seen it broken down quite exactly like that, but I like it. So cool. So let's say we break yours down to build my database, feed my database, systematically touch the database. So let's put those as your 3 priorities for now. You can always change it. So you can always change this as you go, but we want to get it all on there. So maybe just follow this, follow this kind of layout, but let's go through and make sure you add specifics. So create a list with everybody that I know and include all contact info. How many of those are you going to do? And, by what time? What are you committed to? Because that can kind of go on forever. I mean, admittedly, I'm 9.5 years in and I still can't confidently say, although maybe I never could, but I couldn't confidently say that I've got everyone that I'm in a relationship with is in my database. That's not true. That's not accurate. So yeah, maybe it would be impossible to get 100% there, but I could get a whole lot closer than I am now, for sure. So go through, put in your little sections. And then if any of you specifically are like, hey, I'm not sure how to section this out. I'm not sure exactly how to categorize these, or I want to do something different. That's a perfect thing to talk about in our one-to-ones with either Coach Terry or with me. We would love to talk GPS with you. Like this is really, if you don't have this, you really don't have much, because if we look at this, we're like, okay, this is what we value. And then you come in and you're like, hey, I'm not having the success that I want, or I want to get to this next level. Then we look at this. Okay, is this still what you're committed to? How well are we doing on following these things? This is really our map. So then if you say, oh, well, I want to go spend $2,500 on Zillow leads, then we're like, okay, let's look back at your GPS. Let's see if you're doing good with the stuff you have now. And then maybe we'll add something to it. But it just gives kind of this fine, it has a little bit of finality because we don't change these all the time. Your GPS, you want to run it for 90 days. And then you can maybe consider, okay, is this item working or not working? But if you go door knocking for one day and you decide, okay, I didn't sell a house today, so I'm done door knocking, it's not going to be enough. It's not going to be a long enough time to know whether it's working. So, okay. So there you've got a little bit of an example, but will you guys fill out yours, and we really would love to go through them with you and help you figure out exactly, what makes the most sense for you. Okay. I don't think I'm going to go way into the 411 because that's not really what this class is about, but to glance over it, it is one of the documents that you guys got and that, you should have in the files. But the 411, this is where you take all the items that you're going to do, like those strategies that you're committing to. You're going to put those on your 411. So your 411 has your annual goals, your monthly goals, and then your weekly goals as well. So what it does is these weekly goals are super specific, and it's like, okay, call 10 people a day. Did you do that? Yes or no? So you can always check these off and say, okay, am I doing the stuff that's on my GPS? I move it over here, and then you check it off as you go. If you're not checking off your items, then either you're not committed to the goal anymore, or we need to change the plan, or there's something that's changed, or you need an accountability partner or whatever. But this is how you can really tell whether you're on track. Because if you're missing it every time, then it's either it's not important to you, or it hasn't made it on the calendar the way that it's supposed to. But the way that you should fill your calendar is legitimately just your top priorities from your GPS. So your 411 is definitely a part of it, but we won't go into it way too much. Any comments, questions up to this point on the basics of the GPS? I feel like I've seen it a million times, so it's kind of simple to me, but I don't want to breeze through it too much. Anything I missed? Okay. Awesome. Okay, well, I'm going to go through a few things kind of printed a little differently than I thought it was going to. So I'll flip through a lot. Okay, when we're talking about how do you guys know what E to P is? It's one of the 6 personal perspectives, right? What does E to P mean? Who knows?
Entrepreneurial to purposeful.
Entrepreneurial to purposeful. Yep. So perfect. So entrepreneurial to purposeful. You want to you have an idea? Like, you want to share what that means to you?
Instead of shooting from your hip, you've got it designed, laid out, planned.
Totally. Yep. So entrepreneurial is like, for at least for a lot of us, it's our natural style. It's our, we're creative people. We like to have our freedom. We like to do things as kind of comes natural to us, but it limits us. At a certain point, it limits us. So in some ways, it gives us a lot of opportunities. In other ways, it limits us. So purposeful means I don't do what feels natural or what is easy for me. I do what makes the most sense. What's going to bring the most, from a business perspective, it's what's going to bring the most income to us, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. That's why we're here. So the GPS is something that really helps us move from entrepreneurial to purposeful. Because it says, okay, these are the things that are important to us, and helps us really dial those down and help us move them over to our calendar. So that's an important piece. The 80-20 rule, what is that?
20% of your activities produce 80% of your results.
Yeah, 20% of your activities equal 80% of your results. So the amount of time that you spend, 20% of the time that you spend is getting you 80% of your results, meaning the rest of it, you're not being very purposeful. You're not making an impact. So what we all have to do is figure out, okay, where are those times when we're not being as purposeful? You remember the calendars where we'd fill in the green and the yellow and the red, where it said, okay, this is our green time, this is our yellow time or our red time. That's a cool activity to do, because it says, okay, just for anyone who hasn't done it, basically if you go through for a whole week and write down every half hour that you spend, say, what were you doing? Were you, whatever you were doing, and then you're going to label it with green, yellow, or red. So green means it was dollar producing activities, which what kind of things would those be? Calls, door knocking, reaching out to people, making connections, those events, those are all green time things for realtors, right? So then okay, this is how much green time I have. If you don't have a lot of green time, you probably don't have a lot of green money either, So, and then the yellow ones, so let's say that you do certain activities, you're going to mark them yellow. Yellow is going to be necessary, but not dollar producing. So what would those be?
Like meetings,
Even
meetings,
even this meeting.
impactful as it is sitting here.
Yeah, even this meeting, right? So we have to limit it. We have to choose, okay, what's going to be most important for us to do with our time? Yep. So yellow things, yeah, putting a sign in the yard. I don't know. Even like
CE classes.
running
or-
running CMAs, or like all the stuff that we do. It's necessary, but it's not dollar producing. So if we only have yellow time, And like yellow is probably stuff that's gonna get us that 20% of results, but the green is what's getting us the 80. So, and then red time, that's, I'm pretty passionate about that because I had a mentor that was way passionate about it, but the red time, so if there's red time, that means you're literally wasting time. So if you're just gossiping with someone at the office, that's red time. It's not productive. And what my mentor always taught me was like, if you're doing something at the office that's not productive, just go home. Like we don't get paid to be here. So if you're not doing something productive, go home. And it wasn't that he was mad at us. He literally was like, oh, go do something fun. Like go do something you actually enjoy. Don't just burn time at the office, you know? So yeah, you got to figure out. So those green times are really going to be the ones that are in that 80-20. 80-20. Let's talk about the 50-50 fallacy, which just means basically that everything matters the same. So if you, sometimes we feel a little, what's the bold law? Don't mistake movement for achievement. So if we're doing stuff, we tend to feel good. We feel accomplished. If we have a full calendar, it makes us feel important, right? I'm feeling very important right now. So if you have a full calendar, it makes you feel important and accomplished, but unless you're doing the things that are most important for you, those priorities, then, you're not being purposeful. So a few other things that I wanted to go through. Okay, you guys aren't going to have a copy of this, but there's a fundamental ceiling of achievement. Do you remember that in the MREA models, the ceiling of achievement that you hit? This is kind of talking about E to P, but basically your entrepreneurial style can get you to a certain place. And so you have to be able to follow models and systems to be able to propel you through that. And there's this thing is in the MREA. I don't know which page. I wonder if it says, it says page 12 to 13, but I don't know if that's true. But basically, as you go through the levels, just tell me if this sounds familiar. So when you first get started, you're kind of going up, you're on the upswing. So you're making your calls, you're maybe getting some appointments, you're finding success, closing a few deals, and then you go to disappointment. So you start to go down. So you get going and then you get a little down, right? When I get down is when I have a bunch of closings. Everyone gets excited about closings, but for me, as I have closings, it's like, oh no, I had this big pipeline built up and now it's starting to dwindle, right? So you get in this disappointed, negative sort of thing, and you kind of start going down. You get to resignation, which resignation is like backing away. So that's like when we start looking at KSL, seeing what jobs are available, seeing if there's something that might be a little more interesting or more fun than real estate, right? We look at greener pastures. So maybe that's, I'm going to go to a different brokerage, or I'm going to go to a different industry altogether. And then you find some success and you go up, but you'll always kind of be held by this natural level of achievement. So you really have to use these systems and do what doesn't come naturally. So that's focus, models, systems, and accountability. Focus, models, systems, and accountability. So focus means have your GPS in front of you. Be committed to it. Look at it every single day. Have it up in front of you. Models, that means, okay, do we know that this works? Because if we know that the plan works, we can be committed to it, right? We can stay committed to something if we know that it's going to work. But we have a book written about it. We got a ton of people who have shown that if you do these things, if you build a database of X amount, you stay in communication with them, you will get those results. So follow the models and the systems. So use the tools that you have to organize that. That's Command, that's Mojo, that's all the different things that we use to make sure that we get where we're going. And then accountability. The accountability is huge. You got to have an accountability partner. So I have one, my sales partner, Trevor, he's my accountability partner. And, I don't want to disappoint him. He doesn't want to disappoint me. It's a big deal. So we hold each other accountable. You got to have someone, and to be honest, it's not probably your direct accountability partner isn't going to be me or Terry, more than likely. Like we'll help you and support you and everything, but you really need someone that you can, maybe call every Monday and say, hey, here's what I commit to this week. Here's what you commit to this week. Here's how I did last week. Someone that you're not going to want to disappoint. Sometimes spouses make great accountability partners. Sometimes they make horrible ones. I don't do the spouse accountability partner thing. It's not my style, but for some people, they do great with it. So. I just had a few things that I wanted to touch on. I'm not going to go through everything. It'll be real boring. But yeah, I thought it would, I didn't think it would print all on one giant page. So. Go through. I'm not going to bore you with SMART goals. We're not going to go over 411s. It's the 411 section. So. You guys understand the 411, the basics of it at least, right? Did I explain that enough? 411, your annual goals, monthly goals, your weekly goals. These ones are literally the ones, those weekly goals are literally the things that you're going to move to your calendar. So think of this as like, this is your GPS. You want it to be in front of you because that's going to show you where the ultimate goal is. But this one really shows you what you committed every week. So this is the one that you sit down with your accountability partner. When you come to meet with me and Terry, we're going to say, hey, where's your 411? Where's your GPS so that we can look at it and see how you're doing on stuff. Because just so often that we say, this is so important to me, but then we don't do the activities. So it's like, okay, is it not important to you? Or and we'll dig a little deeper. Okay, because sometimes you might think, oh, hey, my goal is that I've got to sell 100 houses this year. But then as we talk through it, like, oh, well, but I didn't really want to because I wanted to be able to take my kids to school in the morning. I wanted to have, I don't know, this flexibility to go spend a month somewhere or whatever. Like maybe it's just like, oh, there were actually, so the thing that you valued is actually time. Like you wanted free time with your family. Okay, well, that's fine, but it's different than 100 homes. Doesn't mean you can't have those things and sell 100 homes. But it's like your goal wasn't 100 homes. Your goal was to have this time with your family. We got to figure out how to fit within that. And maybe we were violating that with the stuff that we had on your stuff, on your GPS and your 411 before. Okay, so when you're blocking, when you're putting your items on your calendar, there were a couple of things that I thought were super important. Time blocking, like time blocking those items. One, as you're putting them on your calendar, be purposeful. So you've got to make sure they fit inside of your GPS and your 411. Be thoughtful. So you've got to think, for me, thoughtful means, hey, it even means to me a little bit like managing your energy. So make sure that if you're putting a huge appointment at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, is your energy really going to be there to do a great job for that? Do we need to move it around? Do we need to reschedule it? Think about what's going to be going through your head. Are you going to be stressing about getting out of there really soon, really early, so that you can run to your next appointment, or are you going to have time to do a good job? Erase and replace. Who knows what that means? You erase, you must replace, right? It's a bold law. So that means if you get something, if you take one of these priorities, you put it on your calendar, and then you're going to get rid of it. Like maybe you have to go to some appointment, like a doctor appointment. So you've got to get rid of your lead generation at that time. You have to move it somewhere else. You don't just get rid of your lead generation, especially if it's lead gen, because that's your number one thing, right? That's the top, at least for realtors, your number one thing is going to be lead generation. So we never erase it without replacing it. So, and then just be consistent. So stay consistent with your items. That's why I say we don't switch out our GPSs, or we don't switch out our GPSs except for at 90 days. And that's just so we can get some momentum, because you move in and out of things too much, you're going to get distracted. I mean, the issue with getting started in real estate, it's not about selling real estate, it's about following a schedule. So if you can't stay on task for 90 days, you're not going to be able to know if that worked, which means you're not going to know how to tweak it in the future. So one tool that I use is a bolt-on box. I don't have a copy of my GPS. I can share it with you guys. It's not secret or anything, but I use a bolt-on box. So if you look at my GPS, and I learned this from a mentor, but there's like a little box on the bottom of the GPS that we would make. And anytime I got a crazy idea, like, hey, I should buy some leads from this person, or I should add this thing, we would add it to the bolt-on box, which meant we're not doing it now, but we'll review it. At our 90-day review, we're going to review it and see if those items need to be moved into our plan or not. So it just made it so that we were more committed. Like I could be more committed to the GPS we already set and not worried about adding a bunch of new stuff to it. And I'm going to go through that. Okay, one of my favorite things, delegation. So out of all of these things, you may find, the yellow topics that we're talking about. So putting up a sign, putting, putting documents into command, whatever those things are that are necessary, you can also delegate it. So I did like Franklin Covey time management thing. Have you ever done that?
Mhm.
So it used to be big. But yeah, in Franklin Covey, that was one of the things you could do. You could delete or you could delegate. One had a little d, and then one had like a circle or like a capital letter. I can't remember. But basically all these items that end up on your calendar or on your 411, you can also delegate those. So you either need to delete some. This is talking about getting rid of things out of your life, because every time you say no to something, you can say yes to something else, right? Anytime we say yes to something, we're saying no to something else. We got to value our time at a pretty high level. But one thing that you can do is delegate. So how can we use delegation to get through these? Because your goal might be, I want to sell 12 houses like Tomas. But one of your other goals might be that I need to gain control of my personal life. I need to have my house cleaned up. I need to have, get on top of my laundry, or I need to, there might be other things that are going to get in the way of you being able to sell 12 houses. Hey, I can't sell 12 houses if I'm cleaning my house all day. So things you could do is, hey, that's still a value to you. It's important to you, but you could delegate it. You could pay someone to come clean up your house. You could, there's so many services like that make it pretty easy. So think about delegation in our business. Transaction coordination. That's an easy thing to delegate. You only pay per file. Obviously on our coaching team, we already have a transaction coordinator, but as you go, you're going to have to choose, okay, do I hire a transaction coordinator? Do I hire a full-time assistant? What does that look like? Those are easy things that you can get rid of off your plate. So this gives some ideas of what to do what to do for that. So make sure you choose the right person. Choose someone that you trust. Find out if there is someone that you trust. Even on our team, we have a couple other resources outside of the four of us that we just lean on for stuff. Like, there's a VA that we kind of lean on that we have just sent, oh, hey, this project is taking us forever. It's getting in the way of us doing some of the stuff that's important for us. So we're just going to send that over there. There's multiple people that we've done that with. So choose someone that you trust. Make sure that you have people like that, have resources. Even you guys know one of my hot buttons is going on vacation, going on date nights, that sort of thing. You can't do that if you don't have backup. You need to have some backup. So again, on your goals, and maybe to sell 12 homes, but it's also probably maybe to keep your marriage together, which is going to require that you go on a date night a week or whatever. So figure out a way that you can leverage that. You can have a showing agent go show houses while you're at dinner or whatever. Like that's always been a part of my life because my wife isn't, interested in me leaving dinner to go show house, right? So there's lots of ways you can do that. Realize there may be a learning curve, but I think that goes to, like we always say, if someone else will do it and can do it 80% as good as you can leverage that. They don't have to be 100%. They don't have to be as good as you. They don't have to do it quite as perfect as you. If they can do it 80%, you're going to delegate that. Make sure people know why you're doing what you're doing, because on my GPS at the very top, it says we're selling 100 houses, but at the bottom, it says we need to, follow up on tasks daily. But if you don't connect the two, if I say, hey, Alex, I really need some help following up on these tasks from command because it's on my GPS to do that, then it's like, he doesn't really know why. He's like, okay, well, I'll try to do it all, and I'm probably bad at this, to be honest, so it's a bad example, but it's a bad example. So when you're delegating something to someone, share with them your goals. Hey, it's really important for me and for us that we sell 100 homes. Here's why it's so important. One of the things that has to happen to make sure we can get there is we have to stay up to date on our tasks every single day, so that as we're following up with people, no one falls through the cracks. Because every time someone falls through the cracks, we get further behind on the goal, right? So share with them why it's important, not just necessarily that it's important. And then establish follow-up communications. So have some way that you can check in. Share the credit. So none of us are going to be able to achieve our. If you look at your GPS, there's probably some items that you're going to need help with. So you can't do it on your own. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, you have to bring a team with you. So no one succeeds alone. And okay, one other thing, the Millionaire Energy Plan. This was also part of the MREA models, because it's in the MREA. This says page 42, but I don't know if these numbers are accurate. But as you're doing your GPS, make sure that you add your 5 different energies. You want to have them kind of reflected somewhere in there, or at least in your 411s. You want to have them reflected in there. So that was meditate and pray for your spiritual energy, whatever that looks like for you. Exercise and eat for your physical energy. Hug, kiss, and laugh for your emotional energy. Plan and calendar for your mental energy. I love that one. Plan and calendar for your mental energy, because I don't know, it just seems like something that takes energy, but it actually doesn't. It actually gives you mental energy and mental clarity to plan and calendar. So it's not something that's sucking energy from you. It's something that's giving you energy. And then lead generate every day. That's going to give you your business energy. So remember, these things are all supposed to be done by 11 a.m. But make sure that they show up on your GPS, because again, like I said, when I didn't meet with them. It was a very small class I had with Jay Papazan. So it felt like I was meeting with them. There was only like 15 of us in the room. But yeah, I loved that he had his values at the very top. His values at the top. So we do that same thing. What our energies are that are important to us, what we want to continue to get better and improve on was at the very top. And then you can just always know that your GPS and your 411 will match those values. So every one of ours should look a little bit different. That's how we'll know that we did a good job at it. What questions, comments you have on all of that? Did everyone get their goal written down, their priorities? And strategies might take a second. You already break it down into some strategies. Anyone willing to share their GPS with us?
I mean, mine's not finished, but one of the strategies, like double your database from its current number to another specific number, whatever the double would be by
Yeah.
a certain time. That's
Yeah.
like one strategy you could use.
Love it. Yep, love it. Cool. Anyone else get something down that they thought was good? No?
I thought it was great.
Awesome. Who's on here? Let's see.
It's quiet at 4 in the afternoon.
I know. Oh, Tina, you look like you're dying to say something.
Well, I was gonna ask, you're saying write it down on those forms. I have to print it out, so I'm writing on just paper and then later I can transfer it to the forms.
Oh, perfect.
Because I don't have them, they're just on my computer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
So
Awesome. That's perfect. And the one that I have is electronic. I have a few different versions. We can send those out. But yeah, I have an electronic version, so it's easy. It's nice because I can have it anywhere and I can share it with people. So then they know what we're working on.
Yeah.
So awesome. But it's also nice to have it in front of you, because really some weeks when we go into our team meeting, we normally will review that GPS as a team. But sometimes it's been a couple weeks and we're like, oh man, I don't even remember what we're working on. Well, how productive were we the last few weeks if we don't even know what we were working on? Maybe we weren't working on anything, right? So yeah, keeping it in front of you is huge. So if that means print it out, that's great.
but the
That was
one
gonna
you
be
sent
next.
us, Sorry, the one you sent us on the link in the notes, is that one like interactive that I can write in?
Yeah, I don't know. No,
Okay,
so.
that's totally
none-
fine.
Yeah, none of those are interactive, but I have like a Google form,
Oh,
or
okay.
not Google Forms, but a Google Sheets version. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Like Google Sheets and a Google Doc version. They just look a little
okay, got it.
different. Yep. Awesome. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, figure out your personality, because I feel like I know I'm a pen and paper person. I know I'm a printout visual. It's gotta be in front of me. And then I fight that to go super digital and electronic. And then just coming to this class today, I'm like, it's not in front of me because it's
Yeah.
digital. So I upped my tech skills, but I still need the visual stuff in front of me. So I just think it's important to do both.
Totally.
I like
Yep.
both.
Love it. Yeah, I think we hear a lot that the vision boards need to be in front of us all the time, which I think they do. And, the vision board tells us where we want to go. The GPS really is helping us, our brains figure out how do we get there. We do these exact things. I think more than anything, we don't want our brain to be thinking that hard. We want to lay out, we want to work out a plan. This is exactly what we're going to do. And then all we have to do is execute those items. Cool. Anyone else have comments, something they picked up from that? Something that you learned?
I think it's interesting, at least when you were talking about, blocking the time, with the green, yellow, and red. I thought it was really interesting. Like I think I need to like sit down and ask myself, because I was writing that down. I'm like, what did I do these last 3 weeks? I mean, I'm like, what have I been up to? So I took the time to just like write it out. I didn't know how to like funnel it, how to like categorize it, but I guess I noticed that I had a lot of red time on my hands, and I'm like, I don't want that. I want to change that. So I thought it was just interesting, like I think how your mentor said, just if you're not doing anything productive, just go home.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, sometimes I know people will put pictures of their family in their office, and that's kind of their way of like putting a picture of your family there is just like, if they're staring at you all day, you're like, okay, am I doing something productive when I go home? Am I gonna remember what I did because it was purposeful? Am I gonna be proud of what I did and feel good about it and want to share it with them? Or am I just gonna say, oh no, it was just another day at work, like, is it something you're gonna be embarrassed about? I guess. So yeah, I love that. Because ultimately our goals, if we're not doing what's going to get us to our goals, then we're kind of lying to ourselves and possibly to our families, right? We're telling them, hey, we're going to go do all this stuff for you. We're going to provide for you. We're going to make it happen. It's going to be worth it. And then we go to the office and hang out and talk around the water cooler all day. So cool. What else did you learn?
I had a follow-up question.
Yeah.
It was just more about the calendar blocking. Is there like a video or anything where we can check that out so we can just sort out our time? And I don't know if there's a recording on the productive coaching email, but
Totally. Yeah, I can get that to you. Will you, the master your calendar thing, will you get that to Tomas? Yeah. Maybe we can send that out with our GPS template, with the GPS template. So that'd be good.
Yeah.
I would love it too.
Awesome. Okay, yeah, we'll send it out to everyone that's on here. Do you want to write this down real quick, Alex? Because I don't know if I'll take a screenshot on here, but then I probably will. I clearly don't know how to use this iPad because it was very difficult to get this going. So Tina, David, Alejandra, Katie, Cody, Sari, Tomas. Okay, perfect.
Thanks, Nick.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Anything else you learned? Want to share?
It was great.
Okay, but now I know who was here. I know who was here. Next time I see you, I'll ask you how your GPS is going and I'll ask to see it. Okay. So I can see what your plan is. That's good, right?
Yep.
So Terry's on the same page.
Yep.
So, okay.
I need to pick an actual accountability partner because I don't really have one. So I'll need to get on that too.
Totally. Yeah. If you want to be Tina's accountability partner, just text her. She's awesome. Yeah. You got to find an accountability partner to help keep you on track.
Will we cover this on Thursday or is this for next Monday?
I'll ask you about it on Thursday, probably. Terry's teaching the class on Thursday. It's on open houses. It's gonna be awesome. I believe it's at South Valley.
Yeah.
So it's at South Valley. It should be really good. Open houses. So we'll ask you about it at both. probably.
Definitely. We can touch base.
Actually, next Monday, we don't have a class. So, yeah, next Monday, we don't have a class. So this Thursday, we'll bug you about it. But just in general, we want to have a cadence of business planning, business executing. Like that's really all it is. Figure out what we got to do and stay on top of it. Keep making consistent progress. So, okay, well, thanks for being here. Good
Thank
to see
you.
guys. Let us know how we can support
Thanks,
you
Nick.
through the week. Let's go get it. Thanks, guys. See ya.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.